everyone, I'm your host Tanya, and welcome to the Safe Table Podcast, episode 4, where I have invited Emily and Kyle, who are founders of Living Tree Foods. Living Tree Food is a vegan company based in British Columbia. These amazing founders and amazing couple who come from a background in law, but their love towards animals and passion towards food led them started this company. So let's deep dive into a conversation where I'm going to chit chat with them about HACCP, food safety program, compliance, traceability, and much more. So let's get started. Hi, Emily and Kyle. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Safe Table podcast. How are you guys?
Hello, we're good. Thank you so much for having us.
Living the dream.
Thank you so much for accepting my invite and taking time to speak on the podcast. So, I want to start with your background. I was completely surprised, and also it's really interesting to know that you guys have background in law. So, how did having that background let you start this vegan food brand, and what was your mission behind the Living Tree Foods?
Yeah, so starting this business was definitely like a left turn for us. It happened really organically. Kyle and I met in law school, and he wasn't vegan at all. I was very vegan, had been for 10 years. And yeah, we started dating, and this was right before the pandemic started. So I was spending a lot of time at home, like cooking vegan things. And he was just super surprised at how tasty it could be. And I was like, just thought, if he was surprised, then there must be other people out there who kind of had a negative image of vegan food who might be more open to it if it actually, was really tasty and healthy and not overly processed. So kind of just for fun, we started selling at farmers markets, and it was really well received. And so we just kind of kept going from there, and it kept building. And so we started it when I was going into my final year of school. So by the time I graduated, I just jumped into this full time. And Kyle was working as a lawyer for a while because he was a year ahead of me, working as a lawyer for a while doing this, which was a lot. And then I just kind of took the leap of faith to jump into this full time. And so for me, the reason I had gone to law school initially was to hopefully practice animal law. I just wanted my career in some capacity to be dedicated to helping animals, protecting them. And so this is just kind of a different way of doing that. If people are trying to move away from animal products, giving them an enticing place to land is another way of kind of reducing animal suffering overall. So, yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I completely agree with you, Emily. I have so many friends who have same mindset that okay, vegan is over processed, it's not healthy, there are not that many options. Like I come from a vegetarian background. I do like chicken and fish, and I really started when I left my home and I started living in hostel where I didn't have much choices. I had to go through that. But when I moved here, vegan is more of a norm in Canada than back home, but there are more options. But I think what Kyle had this thing was I share same thing. So I understand that it's really hard for people to understand that vegan is can be equally healthy as other animal based protein.
Like, yeah, historically there's been kind of a handful of products, and for people like me who were going to eat them no matter what, I was just grateful to have those options, and I loved them, and I still eat them sometimes. And but it's just, unless you're really driven to cut out animal products, you're probably not going to go for them unless they're healthy and taste really good. So
Right, right.
yeah.
As for Kyle, I want to know, Kyle, when I started working with you guys, you already had a HACCP plan in place, and it was especially hazard analysis, which is not easy thing to do. Even for me, I've been doing from years. It still takes me a lot of time to put the right like hazards in place. So how, with such a different background, you managed to develop a good food safety plan in place?
Well, I wish it was now because we could just use ChatGPT, I'm sure, for a lot of it. But this was before, AI became ubiquitous. I'd say just like for food safety, there's so many different like resources and teaching aids and stuff available online. And if you're willing to dig and take the time to find that information and just work through it, it can give you a pretty good starting point. I've definitely like doing the HACCP certification. We've had to learn so many more like in depth, like I don't know, I guess just points of knowledge, but just like finding your base and sort of learning the ropes and sort of like the, the skeleton of food safety. Just there's tons of information online, and if you're curious, check it out.
Yeah, we especially Kyle have done a ton of networking, just given our background, and Kyle's not shy at all. So just kind of gleaning as much knowledge as he can from like health authorities and stuff like that, kind of roping them into conversations. And we got a lot of help from, I think, Vancouver Coastal Health.
Yeah, Vancouver Coastal Health, Fraser Health, CFIA, anyone who will answer my questions, basically. So, and there's like a lot of really helpful, nice people out there who are, happy to help and share their information that they've like gained over years and whatever, and the food industry. So say just don't be afraid to ask. Most people are pretty approachable.
Yeah, I completely agree. Food safety is continuously evolving. It's not like there are a set of rules that you can use and do it, but you definitely need help of people who are actually working in that industry. There could be like health authorities or CFI or any people you met through networking. It's amazing because they're actually open to help. And I personally, even when I was when I'm working in the food industry and I get stuck at somewhere too, there are actually really nice people who are open to help. Even if you're in the same business, they will be like, oh no, I know, this is how I did it, maybe you can this resource. So yes, that's amazing that how people are so helping here. One of the things I want to know is, yeah, your facility is, you're sharing it with another facility, other companies, right? And you have different allergens in your facility. So how are you mitigating those risks? What measures you have in place that you make sure that Living Tree Foods is safe from rest of the allergens that you're not claiming currently on your products?
No, not me to take this.
Well, sure. I'll mention a couple of things. Yeah, so one of the things, the other company that's working here has allergens we don't have. So we keep all of those allergens on a particular shelf, a segregated area. We work at different times than them. For any machines that are shared, we have a cleaning log. So if they're the last person to have used it, then extra cleaning measures go into it before we use it. Am I forgetting anything?
Yeah, and then just having like may contain on our packaging labeling any potential allergens, even though cross contamination is usually, the likelihood is very low because of all of our protocols in place. The other thing we do is spot testing. We test areas for different allergens and cross contaminants, regularly. So just follow your HACCP principles, people. Follow those protocols.
So, would you agree to this, that there were many practices you changed or you implemented after you had your HACCP certification or after you went through that process? So, what were the challenges you faced before the audit? And if there are other people who are going through the process, they can have those practices in place in advance so that they make sure they don't, feel like too overwhelming for them.
For sure.
Yeah, like I would say, yeah, I don't know. What do you say?
Well, I think just one of the things is just having kind of formalized processes in place. Like it would be a little bit more haphazard in terms of like the cleaning and all the protocols we had. We still did them and it was still important, but just having it laid out so clearly, I think is just a lot better of a way to do things. So having like your best practices, like at the beginning of the day, checking everything. It's just a way to ensure that nothing is missed. And traceability is another thing that was a huge aspect of HACCP that we hadn't been keeping track of every aspect of it. We kind of had parts of it in place, but it was just a lot more comprehensive than we had initially thought. And so that was a big change for us as well, because it's quite comprehensive and time consuming.
Yeah. And I think one really key thing for us, like as we grow, like we wear almost every hat in our jobs. So there's a lot of like really in-depth, like kind of idiosyncratic knowledge that we have about our processes, whether that's like production or cleaning, whatever. So having these processes like formalized and written out really makes it a lot easier for us to integrate new people into our production and into the process without like, having to like dote on them. And it just makes it a lot more like simple and easy for them to kind of, get up to speed.
Yeah, that's actually another thing, just keeping track of who has been trained in what. That's another aspect of the plan that wasn't formalized for us prior to it. Just being like, oh, can this person do this task? We can't remember if we've trained them in this. And so now it's just laid out for us. And it's just a lot easier to kind of plan production for the week.
So you mentioned about traceability, and I think we learned a lot about traceability and put all those different measures in place. Are you using any software currently for traceability, or you're using the Excel sheets or inventory management and all of that?
Yeah, no software. We had tried some before, but we just had a hard time tailoring it to our exact production process. I'm sure we probably could find one if we spent enough time and enough time trying to kind of shoehorn our process into what it allows for. I kind of, and they're not cheap, most of them. So kind of gave up on that for now until we have, I guess, time to look into more of them. So we're just using Excel or I guess Google Sheets to keep up to date. There's kind of three main components, and actually had a lot of fun building them and like cross-referencing between them and stuff.
Have you guys looked into any grants like for food safety or traceability or any other things in the past?
We actually haven't tried those grants. That's probably one of the few that we haven't set our sights on. I think just wasn't really.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
think
really.
we missed the window, like
Yeah.
the like application window. It was like it opened just after we finished our inspection, so it was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. I think we just the timing just like didn't work out, and just we're busy with other things. But I mean, yeah, that's a good point. We probably should revisit that, and because it is the way we're doing it is definitely time consuming, and I'm sure there's a quicker way of doing it, like a more automated way of doing it.
Yes, I think with as you will grow in the business, you would be more looking into traceability software that's really going to make your life easier than Excel, having Excel sheets, especially for traceability. And even for the record keeping, there are many companies who are going more towards like softwares. Like I personally don't like them. I have used few of them for my clients, but I feel like they don't give you much options to edit the form and do the things that the way you want to do, or they're very expensive. You have been in the industry for many years now, and I want to know what did HACCP certification, taking HACCP certification at this point, how much it changed your business, and do you suggest other food companies to take it HACCP certification? If yes, at what point they should take it? Or any other certification, not if just HACCP, or organic, non-GMO, if they're looking to get any, what stage they should go with it.
Yeah. So for us, so none of these certifications are cheap, and running a food business is notoriously expensive. So I think, like my personal opinion, and I think Kyle's is to not go for any of these unless uh, it's required for a retailer, or if it unless it's really going to improve your sales. So for us, for example, to get these certifications, there were certain retailers that actually required it. So I mean, if you're selling either at farmers markets or in stores, you already have food safety plans in place. You've already been, vetted by whatever local health authority. So it's expensive, and especially HACCP is a lot of work. It was kind of mind-boggling to us how comprehensive it was, and you were incredibly helpful in the process. So, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you're getting into one of these more national, bigger chains, and it's required of you. As for any other certifications, like organic, or for us probably the most pertinent would be vegan. We've decided not to get vegan certification right now. Assessment is that it just wouldn't improve sales enough to justify the time and effort and cost to do it right now. As vegans, personally, when we're checking products, looking at the ingredients is pretty easy. There's not you know, I don't know how much confidence it would instill in consumers. I'm sure there's some people who it makes a difference for, but just for us, there's already so many costs to running a food business. Yeah, it's not something that we're looking at right now.
Right. So you were suggesting that one should only go with the HACCP certification or any other certification when they're planning to expand into their business or to grow into bigger retail stores, which does actually make sense. Either you want to grow out of one province or you want to go to bigger stores, only then it makes sense because you have to at the end look into the financial budget. You understand law, you studied food safety. I want to know, how do you educate your consumers about food safety? So you are on Instagram, like you guys do amazing social media and you guys go on net events. I think wherever I've been, I've always seen you guys different events, always running, we always bump into each other. Have you taken as a company any steps to educate your consumers about food safety?
Not like a ton, really. Like we maybe talk a bit about the benefits of like a plant-based diet. We talk about the taste and the I guess the ease of which you can produce our food. Like aside from having, I guess, just like storage and cooking instructions on the packaging itself. We don't really spend a lot of time talking about the food safety. I think it's one of those things. It's like no news is good news. It's like as long as you hear nothing, that's probably a good thing. As soon as you start worrying about like a company's food safety, then then everyone's hackles are going to get up. So we want to fly under that radar.
Well, we have a lot of direct contact with consumers at farmers markets. Like you said, we do trade shows, but we also do a ton of farmers markets and a ton of consumer shows. So that's typically where we'll field questions from people. They'll ask about like storage instructions and how to use it and how to cook the ravioli. So it's pretty one-on-one, I would say.
Yeah, and it's like really, really easy. Like our ravioli stores frozen, and it's easy. Like you boil it for 4 minutes. Like a 6-year-old could probably make that. So just keep that in the fridge, boil that water, you're good to go.
Right, and one of the best things about vegan product is like meat is high risk. So when you're making a vegan food, definitely have instructions, but then even if it's little bit, I would say, left outside, it won't hurt someone, like it won't make someone sick as compared to if you have beef, poultry, pork, or anything else. So definitely that makes a lot of difference as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna start telling people that.
So, how do you stay updated with the current regulations? Food safety is evolving, and now they recently are making a lot of changes in the labeling. There are deadlines coming. Then they had listeria updates. So CFI is evolving all the time. Their regulations, right? And then there are so many recalls, outbreaks are happening. So how do you stay updated on regulations?
So it's the most simple way, just go subscribe to the CFIA. They have an RSS feeder, and you can subscribe to emails. That's probably the biggest thing. Also, just I follow the news a lot, so just kind of keep my eyes open. Also, we subscribe to a lot of different like insider groups. Like we're members of CHFA, we're members of the Small Scale Food Processors Association, members of Feed BC, and BC Food and Beverage. So between all of these different regulators, there's a lot of points of contact where other people in the industry are going to send out things that are important or directly from the sources themselves. So I'd say just be involved in the industry, and hopefully you'll hear pretty quickly. Like it's a pretty small industry. People are pretty vocal and pretty active.
Right. Wow, you know all of it. No, actually that's really amazing. Okay. So last, just one bonus question I want to know, where can people buy your products?
Thank you for asking. So we're in a number of stores around, so certainly around BC, mostly, and we're expanded a little bit across Canada as well. So here in BC, you can find us at Whole Foods, IGA, Fresh Street Markets, Nature's Fair, some Thrifties, and Safeway now, which is really exciting.
Stongs.
Yeah. Vegan Supply is another big one for vegans out there. And just a number of kind of independent local stores. Siegel's Bagels and Rosemary Rock Salt have had our dairy-free cream cheese for a few years now. So if you're craving a bagel and cream cheese, check those out.
And I want to mention Death by Garlic Cheese. You guys have to try that. I loved the name. I loved the packaging, and it was amazing. And I love the product too.
Oh, thank you so much. That one was his idea. He was like, You need to make one that's really garlicky, and it's called Death by Garlic. And so that's
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm.
it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And to anyone who's listening, we highly recommend working with Tanya. She was incredibly helpful. So,
Oh,
of
thank you so much.
course. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Safe Table podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation with Emily and Kyle and learned from their commitment towards food safety, do like, share, and comment on this episode of the Safe Table podcast. Stay tuned for more insightful episodes. Until then, bon appetit!